we are going to jump into the deciding game between Sigrist and Scott-Vargas. Good old Siggy and LSV duking it out with 5-color Niv-Mizzet and Abzan midranged. Mike Sigrist picked up game number 1, LSV won game number 2, so let's see how this goes in what is essentially an elimination match, as both of these players are fighting to survive and keep their chances of a top 8 alive.
Yeah, this is the type of deck that, even though they weren't preparing for it, they were hoping to beat Mike Sigrist and the rest of the team playing this 5-color Niv-Mizzet deck. They came here prepared to go over top of these mid-range decks and sort of be king in the battle of card advantage. For Luis Scott-Vargas and team, they brought this Abzan mid-range deck trying to target Jund, trying to beat creature decks. So yes, while they have some tools to put up a fight here in the matchup, this really isn't the matchup that they are looking for.
So Thoughtseize here to kick things off. Gonna take a look at a hand where the choice isn't exactly clear as to what it is we want to take there from Scott-Vargas.
Yeah, there were certainly some options that Mike was thinking about. Could have considered the Emiria Skull, getting rid of a land now that would eventually be potentially a spell and try to hinder some things from Scott-Vargas. But considering he has this reactive hand, if Emiria Skull at some point becomes a spell, we'll be ready for it with a Dovin's Veto. More problematic is Luis having an answer to a Niv-Mizzet, which is what Mike is trying to play towards.
So leaves up the Dovin's Veto, not going for the Thought Erasure just yet, is Mike Sigrist. Let's see what LSV deploys here from his side of things. Just going to pass the turn back, keeping up that Mythos of Nethroi. An Overgrown Tomb off the top here from Mike Sigrist. Does have the Krasis, and now we'll have the ability to go Thought Erasure, hold up Dovin's Veto, in case there's a threat that he can't deal with.
Yeah, he already knows that that Binding and Baffling End are there, so he knew that the Krasis was not going to be safe at any point, maybe trying to clear the way a little for it, but gets the news that there's plenty of removal spells on the other side. I would guess that he'll be in the market of taking one of these, probably the Binding as the most functionally useful one, but may opt for the Mythos instead just because it is instant speed, meaning that if Siggy plays a threat, Luis would have to wait until his turn to remove it, essentially tying up some of his mana.
So the turn pass back there, and Dartha Triumph off the top of the library here for LSV. Still doesn't really have much to do. Like, both players are kind of just waiting for the other one to do something substantial.
You see the sorcery speed main phase cycle from Luis there? That's a nod to Niv-Mizzet. We're going into Mike's 5th turn. Luis feels the urgency to find Thoughtseize to try to get rid of Niv-Mizzet before Mike can get there. Fortunately for Luis, Mike doesn't have it, so Luis is safe to at least play a creature, and now he can feel good about at least some of these removal spells sitting in his hand.
Maelstrom Pulse being drawn at the top here for Sigrist. So does have an answer to Night of Autumn, which, surprisingly, I think, has been an MVP for quite a few players this weekend.
Yeah, it's been quite good, and there it is. There's the Niv-Mizzet that Mike was looking for, so things are starting to get dangerous for Luis. He wants to try to work his way up towards casting a big Haymaker spell like that Emirius call, but at the moment he needs to remove this Hydrate Krasis, and that means he's not going to find a land for this turn.
Hydrate Krasis off the board, Night of Autumn in for 2, down to 16. Go Siggy. As we find another Dovin's Veto, but more importantly, Niv-Mizzet Reborn is online. All right, let's see what you find. All 10, let's go. I don't even think you can find all 10, but you never know. Oh.
1, not good enough. That is not what Mike needed to see. He was looking for at least a Scarab God, a Hydrate Krasis, something. Binding, it's okay. It's a removal spell. You could deal with something and try to get yourself in the game, but that was not a good Niv-Mizzet, and Mike really needed more.
Bad Niv, no biscuit. Not behaving today, it seems. As we take a look in the hand here of Scott-Vargas once again, what are we going to take from him this time?
You see him considering between the Wall of Blossoms and the Mythos. The Mythos is a direct answer to this Niv-Mizzet Reborn, but it's also not really what Mike is concerned about. Extinction Event would at least deal with Luis's Night of Autumn as well as this Niv-Mizzet. The Wall of Blossoms is problematic because it can try to draw Luis into more gas, and into something like that card, Necromentia, which is, we just saw it do so much work for Shahar in the exact same 95 that Luis is playing.
Oh my goodness.
Necromentia is scary. It can get rid of your Niv-Mizzets, it can get rid of your Scarab Gods, it can get rid of the primary cards that you're counting on to give you that value.
Oh, Casualties of War drawn off the top here. So this Necromentia that's going to most likely get Dovin's vetoed, what is it calling in this matchup?
It's hard to say. I think it would still have to be Niv-Mizzet at this point. It's between Niv-Mizzet Reborn and Scarab God are the primary cards that you're scared of. I think it's really tempting for Mike to go for a Casualties of War here. You get to hit that Baffling End, give yourself a 3/3, remove that Castle Lock Thwain from the battlefield to ensure that Luis isn't able to get card advantage off of it, and kill one of these Wall of Blossoms. But that will leave the door open for Luis to cast that Necromantia while Dova's veto is down. So a bit risky, but Mike Sigrist may actually have the tools he needs to win this game here, and he needs to win this game soon because his clock is just under 5 minutes now.
Oh yeah, that's super scary indeed, but the walls are down. Necromentia is going to take a look, choose a card name, and get rid of it, and it is going to be the Scarab God.
Yeah, I think that is the reasonable choice from Luis. Niv-Mizzet Reborn, it is excellent at refilling the hand for Mike, but Scarab God is really the recursive threat that can give this Abzan midrange deck so much trouble, not only with itself, but also it can recur your other Niv-Mizzets. It can get back something like a Yorion, something like Knight of Autumn from Luis, and just pose so many problems.
Yeah, so good call there from Luis, getting rid of one of the big threats in this deck. Cold Steel Heart off the top of the library. But Binding the Old Gods looks to be the go-to here for Sigrist to get rid of this creature.
Yeah, it's attacking time. Make sure you have the mana for a Dovin's Veto, and now you just need to start bashing face.
That's my kind of magic. Yasharn, the Implacable Earth Medium Pig, as we like to call him. I'm gonna go digging for some lands. And unfortunately not do much else than be a little land pig in this matchup.
Yeah, you see Siggy specifically not want to get a Triome there. That's because at this point, every Triome that you draw is a land that you can cycle. He's not really looking for more mana. He's looking to find gas, especially with his Scarab Gods gone and his timer ticking down. Siggy needs a way to win this game. Probably playing a Cold Steel Heart here and just passing the turn with Veto and a cycle up. You don't really want to use your Maelstrom Pulse on a Yasharn, but this is a tough position right now for Mike Sigrist.
Right Climb Pathway drawn off the top here. Yorion Sky Nomad doesn't have the best battlefield to bounce. Sure, he can bounce Medium Pig, and if he's got the lands to go and fish out the library, we'll see that happen.
Yeah, thin your deck a little more.
It's a 4/5 that flies.
Exactly. 4/5 that flies problematic here. Mike does have the answer in the Maelstrom Pulse, but again, things feel a little desperate right now for Siggy. He needs to find some gas. He needs to find a way to start attacking, and he needs to do it all while looking at this timer continue going down.
Yeah. 3.5 minutes left for Siggy, so he's going to have to get moving here. Death Touch Trampler swings on in, down to 18. Maelstrom Pulse is the follow-up to get rid of Yorion the Sky Nomad, leaving just the Yasharn on the battlefield. 3 Dovin's Vetoes. He's just sitting there going, play something I can counter, please. All the while taking 4 points of damage.
All right, pig battle.
Oh, goodness. It's going to be a battle of the bacon here, as Yasharn, Implacable Earth, joins the fray for Mike Sigrist, finding just a single forest. But hey, it's one less land to draw, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, and speaking of one less land, Luis draws the 4th land in a row, something like that here. And yeah, this is whoever finds gas first. And fortunately for Siggy, his 3 vetoes ensures that a lot of draws from Luis are actually dead right now.
Ooh,
oh, that's a perfect draw.
Hello, Legion War Boss. All right, let's get swinging. In for 4 with this little knucklehead coming from the Legion War Boss. All the protection in the world here. Hey, Siggy, you got 3 removal spells back to back? Oh, goodness me. All right.
This is really dangerous now for Luis. He's got a 1-turn window, and he needs to fight through 3 Dovin's Vetoes. It's not really possible. That's game over.
No, that's good game. Mike Sigrist finding the Legion War Boss gets the job done here. Racing the clock and racing the board from LSV. So congratulations, Mike Sigrist.